Mike Bohn here in Toronto ahead of UFC 297 with one of the coaches who has a heavy load here on Saturday night, Parrumpa from American Top Team, of course, cornering Mayra Bueno Silva in the co-main event against Raquel Pennington and Movsar Evloev versus Arnold Allen, man. Just welcome to Toronto, first of all. How does it feel? Another big fight week coming up for you.
It feels cold, you know. Toronto's really cold, but it's a great week for us, you know, going for another, title shot, Movsar maybe going into a top 5, so we're pretty happy that what we accomplished during camp. Both of them grew a lot as a fighter, and expectation is the best one. Let's get this thing done and keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, we'll start with Movsar before we get into the big stuff with the title fight, but undefeated, he's been looking great. Another big matchup for him. I feel like this is kind of the fight that's maybe eluded him a little bit to this point, like the big name. Obviously, Arnold just fought Max Holloway. Can you sense like a different excitement, motivation in him, knowing that this is a fight that can probably get him to the next level?
100%. That's a fight that he wanted, the type of fight that he wanted for a long time. He's trying to get it ahead of the rankings, fighting people ahead of him. It didn't plan out. It didn't play out very well in the past. When we were supposed to fight Bryce Mitchell, Bryce unfortunately, got hurt. So, this is the fight that we need to make Movsar excel. Getting to the top 5, getting to maybe a title contention, conversation. He goes there, he finishes Allen, which is an amazing fighter, very durable, very well-rounded. If he finishes Allen, and we have another contender. So I believe that being undefeated, being the faithful guy that he is on his religion and everything, I think he's ready to bring it to the next level.
And as a coach, as you're scouting Arnold, like he's been very kind of inactive over the years. Like it's one fight a year, maybe sometimes longer. It's been almost a year since his last fight now. Is it hard to kind of pick up on where he develops and what he's going to bring to the table? Or as you've studied him, do you feel like his strengths and weaknesses have stayed relatively consistent?
He's the kind of guy that evolved a lot. I'm honestly, I'm not sure if taking longer in between fights is better or worse. Some people like to take a long time. Some fighters like to take the time to develop their skill. Instead of being active. Other fighters like to be active all the time. Speaking of scouting him, I was rewatching all of his fights in the past week, and he was a different guy when he fought, for example, Amir Kouani. Amir Kouani took him down, almost every round, if I'm not mistaken. And then you see later on, Nick Lance had a lot of problems with him taking him down, So he's the kind of guy that he evolves a lot. He evolved a lot. He's a better fighter than he was 3 years ago, even though he has maybe 3 or 4 fights in the last 3 years, So we're taking him very seriously. We trained really hard. Movsar was taking him very seriously. But we believe that we can make this happen, Movsar has all the skills, the pressure, the wrestling, the striking to get the wrestling going for this fight.
And obviously don't want to make you dig like too deep into the game plan, but when you look at Movsar, like we've seen what he's been able to do. I think he's got 2 takedowns at minimum in every one of his fights at this point. No one's been able to really stop that consistency. But how much of his game is behind that, right? Like I imagine the day will come where someone is able to maybe stop him enough that it's a largely striking fight. We saw a little bit of that. Like how much more of there is him to show once kind of that adversity starts coming in fights?
Yeah, I mean and that's why I mentioned his striking. He's not gonna touch gloves and shoot right away. Because he needs to get striking. He needs to get, at some point of having Arnold Allen guessing, reacting, and then the strike will come in like we did with Dan Ige. Dan Ige is a very dangerous fighter, and he stood up with him. I think the first takedown was after maybe four minutes, So he's not the kind of guy that's going to go there in there right away and shoot. You know, he needs to take his time. He needs to work. He needs to strike, you know. But obviously, this fight is all about pressure. It's all about, you know, getting the consistency throughout the rounds going, you know, and make his game done, you know, make his game to be the one that is going to be effective.
How much does he talk about in like camp and your guys' conversations just trying to get this first UFC finish, right? Because you could argue maybe that's what's holding him back a little bit in terms of like breaking through. Maybe he doesn't have that highlight quite yet. Is that something that you can tell like either bothers him or motivates him? What's kind of his mindset there?
It's so funny you said that, because this morning on the breakfast we were talking about Mayra, you know, and talk about how a finishing girl she is. You know, she has so many bonuses, you know, for finishes and everything. And he's like, I don't finish any fights, coach. I'm like, but I will try it. I'm trying to finish. I got better, you know. So it's something on the back of his mind. It's not that he doesn't want to finish. It's that he's still developing some kind of game to actually, you know, get to the finish. You know, nowadays it's kind of hard to finish someone that knows jiu-jitsu, because everybody trains jiu-jitsu nowadays, you know. So there's other ways to finish, you know, with striking, with using striking to go into a submission. So we're trying to put that on his game, you know, and that's something that's always on the back of his head.
How close do you think he feels maybe, or how close do you feel he's close to like the title fight now at this point? Of course, we have it, you know, coming up next month, Volkanovski and Topuria. We don't know what's going to happen after that. But does he feel he's a couple wins away? Or you see some of these guys, Arnold Allen being one of them, they need like 10 wins in a row before they even get like the main event against Max Holloway. Where do you kind of feel his path lies? Is he going to be maybe one of those people that has to do the longer journey there, which is obviously completely fine. A lot of people have had to do that.
I think it's all about finishes. You know, let's put a scenario like this. He finishes Allen, and then all of a sudden, Topuria wins the title. Everybody knows that him and Topuria don't like each other. Everybody knows that there was a couple of fights, a couple of times they were supposed to fight, didn't happen. It could be another title shot right there, you know. Or he needs to fight a couple more times. You know, it's all about this next couple of months, you know. It's all about this next Saturday. It's all about Volkanovski and Ilya, you know. What's Max going to do, if he's going to, you know, go for a BMF or no. I mean, it's so many things that played out, you know, that plays out. And we just need to finish these people, you know. I mean, or a 30-26. You know, like, okay, I didn't finish, but it really were, you know, a beat down, you know.
Yeah, it'll be kind of interesting for sure. I mean, and if Volkanovski wins too, right? Like, it's always the question. He has fought so many of these guys in the division. Fresh face. He hasn't fought Movsar yet, so who knows? We'll see what happens there. But with Mayra, obviously, it's been a bit of a rough road, like, to this fight in terms of just what's happened in recent months. Where have you seen, like, in terms of her mindset being after all the stuff, you know, with the suspension, which people can look into and, you know that she wasn't really in the wrong for anything there. But did that weigh on her? You know, she gets this big win from Holly Holm, taking off her record too. Where's she at mentally? But obviously, the UFC rewarded her still.
Yeah, I mean, we have to, first of all, we have to thank Hunter. You know, he was the guy that was always on our side, knew that she didn't do anything wrong. I mean, USADA collected, USADA tested, USADA had everything good about it, and then the commission suspended her, which was kind of like, you know, it was like a bit of, like, the medication is something that she takes since she's 10 years old. You know, that's something that just started taking right now. So it was something that she always took in all her fights in the UFC. You know, so something that it was documented, everything. It was just something that the commission didn't see the way it was supposed to see. But to prove that everything she did was not wrong, that she was still in the rankings, she's still fighting for the title, you know. So I believe that all this only strengthened her. You know, her mindset is so good for this fight. Her mindset is so like this. She told me yesterday when we finished training, said, "And it's here. It arrived. The day that we go for the belt arrived. You know, and she's so pumped to be here. You know, I believe that, it's going to be a tough fight. Raquel was not a pushover. Raquel is a tough girl. She's tough everywhere. She's hard to put away, But I believe that Mayra has the tools to do it. Is there anyone that can put Raquel away, obviously besides Amanda, Mayra is the one.
Yeah, for sure. And I love Mayra's kind of mindset and her honesty, right? She'll tell people this isn't the fight maybe the fans want, it's not the best fight, but I'm going to make it entertaining and I'm going to, make everyone stoked for it. Is that maybe putting too much pressure on herself though, right? Or do you feel she just knows with her style, she hits hard, she can submit people, that that's what will manifest regardless of the opponent, and she's just expressing that?
No pressure. I think she says that being completely honest, and that's the truth, I mean, we're used to see big shows on 135 with Amanda and Juliana and Holly Holm and everything. And when you see a title fight with two girls that they're not champions right now because it's a vacant belt, people are like, but she's completely honest saying, I will make you guys want to watch me fight again. I will make you guys like me. I will make you guys appreciate my work because I finish people. See my record. Watch my bonuses. Check me out. I don't like to go to decisions. I like to make sure that nobody doubts who's the winner. And I think this last 2.5 years that we've been working together, I see the evolution. That when she first came to train at American Top Team, and right now, not even only me, even people at the gym said, wow, this girl is really evolved a lot in the last camps, and you just have to put that inside the octagon on Saturday,
For you as a coach, I mean, how does your excitement get up for a title fight? You've done this a number of times now. I'm sure the first time was really special. The first win was really special. But for this now, where does your mindset go into? Do you put so much more focus on someone because they're in a title fight? Do you have to split your attention a little bit more? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, obviously title fights are always a main priority, but obviously the last 2.5 months were being pretty busy, with, started with Shabley in Bellator, and then Magomed Kerimov in PFL, then Arman, against Dayush, and then Pantoja defending the belt, all this, and then Mayra in camp for this with Movsar, so it was a busy 3 months, and as much as I want to give priority to one or the other, I can't because there's so many important fights, so many things in place. Arman winning like that. Now he's going for a #1 contender. Shabley going for the finals. Magomed winning the PFL. Mayra and Pantoja. So everybody's important. Obviously, there's more important and less important, but everybody's important. So I feel lucky and honored to be there, to be there with these guys, to be there, to be on that hot seat, and help them out. But obviously, it's American Top Team. It's the work of everybody together, all the coaches, all the training partners who help these guys to perform the way they perform. It's not only one coach or the other. It's a whole American Top Team.
Well, whatever you guys are doing is obviously working because I think all those fights mentioned were wins. So it's been a good run here. You mentioned Alexandre Pantoja, obviously first title defense there. I know he was very happy. Maybe not the performance in terms of excitement that he was craving for, but a clear win. After the fact of that, I mean, what have you kind of seen from him since? Is he back in the gym already? Is he looking to fight again soon? Where's kind of his mindset after that recent win?
Well, he said those things inside the cage. Oh, I'm sorry, but when we went back and watched, it was pretty exciting, I mean, it was a non-stop action. He never steps back. He's always forward, always putting pressure, always, trying to finish the fight, And sometimes people don't go away, Brandon Royval is a very, very tough and dangerous opponent who never gets tired. He trains in elevation. We knew that's going to be a 5-round fight. We knew that he would be prepared to not tap to Pantoja's rear naked choke. So we put some things together, which he defended. So it's not that Pantoja didn't try. He did try, but props to Rival to survive, But after the fact that, that he came back to the gym and saw everything, he's back training, he wants to defend his title in Rio in May. That's something that we really asking, the UFC and his managers to make it happen, because it means a lot to him. It's the first time that he's going to fight in Rio de Janeiro. And he even said that. Said, man, I fought everywhere. I fought in Korea. I fought in the United States, Europe, Abu Dhabi. I never said no to any fight. Please, just let me defend with my people, And
given who's available, it makes like perfect sense in the schedule and everything. The question is just like, who's he going to fight, right? Because thought maybe on Saturday that Manel Kopp fight would maybe Mateus Nicolau would produce the #1 contender. That gets called off after weigh-ins, and then Albazi falls out of the fight in Mexico. We're now going to get Moreno and Roy Val too, maybe someone there. But like, I guess he probably doesn't care as long as he gets the Brazil fight. But any part of you guys hoping that's like a fresh opponent? We're not doing another rematch here.
I mean, we're just hoping that we get there in Rio, Obviously, even Pantoja say, the division is amazing. There's a lot of tough guys in the division, Why do the 4th Moreno fight? Why do the 3rd Rival fight? Even Cape, we already fought Cape, But Cape, I believe Cape has a little bit of a problem making weight. He was, a bit too big in between fights. Hopefully he gets his things together, because he's a very dangerous opponent, very tough opponent. There's a lot of other names. Albazi is still in the picture. Hopefully he gets, healthy, soon. But we'll see. I truly believe that if Moreno wins in Mexico City, UFC is going to try to push for the 4th Moreno fight, The only problem that I see that is in between February 24th and May 4th is exactly 10 weeks, so the first and the last week doesn't count, so he's going to have 8 weeks to prepare for a fight, Since he's already preparing, hopefully he doesn't get, hurt and everything, that we can make it happen in Brazil, And I think he will say yes because he won the title in Brazil. So he's doesn't have any problems going to Brazil and fighting Brazilian, So let's see.
Yeah, and all due respect to Brandon Moreno, I do think there's maybe a little bit of fatigue from fans and seeing him continue to get title shots. So if they offer it to him under that circumstance, I think he'd have to take it because you just never know when the next one can come around, right?
Yeah, of course. And if it's the other way around, hey, you're going to have 8 weeks to prepare to fight Moreno in Mexico City. Do you want? No, then go to someone else. Because Moreno is fighting in Mexico City. Same thing in Brazil. Same thing with our champion. Do you want? No, because he's fighting in May 4th. That's how it's supposed to be. How the UFC is going to do, we never know. We're just hoping to get an opponent on May.
We'll see how that shakes out. Last person I want to talk to you about, Arman Tsarukyan. Obviously, sick knockout of Beneil Dariush, and then gets, not the title shot he wanted, but next best thing, Charles Oliveira, UFC 300. They say winner will get a title shot. I don't know, how big is this fight for you guys? Obviously, we kind of know in terms of the division, but this is another one kind of, as we talked about earlier with like Movsar, you wait a long time to get the big name, the big breakthrough fight, and here we are.
Amazing, the way he beats an amazing fighter in Dariush, it was just so beautiful to see that his evolution as well. From the first fight with Islam, where he was just like a grappler and wrestler, until now that he's knocking people out. It's so amazing to see that guy, evolving so much. And when he's at the gym, he's like nonstop, learning with all the coaches, So it's amazing to see that now he's really getting what he deserves. Because for a long time we asked for the same thing with Movsar. We asked for opponents that were ahead of him in the rankings, and nobody wanted to fight him. And the people behind him didn't want to fight him either because it was a tough match, and people ahead of him didn't want to lose their rankings, So now we don't have a title shot, yes, but we have a legend, a guy that's, in my opinion, even more dangerous than Islam, because he's dangerous everywhere. He's a good striker. He's an amazing jiu-jitsu guy. In my opinion, he's probably the best finisher in the UFC history, ahead of
The numbers say it.
yeah, ahead of Royce, ahead of Damian. So we respect him a lot. We know that we're up for a tough task, But I believe that Arman has the will. What motivates Arman is not money, it's not women, it's nothing. It's just to be the champion. Just to be the champion. He's obsessed with that, and we want to make sure that we're gonna do everything for him to succeed on this fight and fight Islam whenever Islam is ready to fight him.
And as you mentioned, Charles, so dangerous. Is that like a challenging and fun thing as a coach for you to game plan for this fight? Because as you said there, like his stand-up has come so far in the past few years. Obviously, the submission game is always there. Like, in terms of where you need to direct your focus in terms of the fight, like, is that a fun game plan to try to figure out with Charles Oliveira?
I mean, the game plan is to be complete. A game plan for Charles has to be complete. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a few things that we think that we're better at, and we're going to try to put that in our strategy, to get a finish will be a statement to make sure that no one doubts that he's the number one contender, because Gaethje lost to Charles. If we go there and finish Charles, or even beating Charles, I think there's no way that they're going to give a title shot to Gaethje before Arman, But still, we have to think one step at a time. We're thinking of Charles Oliveira, April 13, UFC 300, to be the best Arman that you guys ever seen. Prepared, focused, and dangerous.
I've always found it interesting too, and you look at like the matchups, like Dustin Poirier didn't really want to go to the ground with Charles. When he did go there, he just tried to play it very safe. Same with Justin Gaethje in their very brief fight. But you saw with Islam, like he had no fear in going to the ground with Charles and was able to finish it there. When you look at Arman, do you feel like it's more going to be like the Islam fight in that sense, where if he knocks him down, if he gets an opportunity, there's not going to be fear of that submission game. You have to be smart about it, of course, but he won't be hesitant to go to that ground if it benefits him.
100%. I've said that a bunch of times, even before Islam fought Charles. I said I think it's a bad matchup for Charles, even though I love him. He's a good guy. He's a great human being, great fighter. But Islam's not going to be afraid. If Islam knocks him down, he's going to get in there and try to finish. Not going to let him recover and come up. I think that was one of the mistakes that people made with Charles, to let him recover. If Arman gets the chance to knock him down or take him down, he's going to take advantage of it. He's not going to be afraid or stand back up. No way. He's going to go in there, be smart about it. Don't play jiu-jitsu with him. Play MMA with him. That's the difference that I think it needs to be done in this fight.
Well, it's shaping up to be a hell of a year, man. I think you got underserved a bit in the Coach of the Year conversation for 2023. You were my vote. I couldn't convince everyone on staff, but you did amazing things. It seems like 2024 could be an even bigger year, man. So starts with UFC 297, Toronto on Saturday, and let's see how things go, man. Some big fights coming up.
Thank you so much for your words. Let's keep winning. Let's keep going, and that's it. As long as American top team is on top, I'm good about it.